Positive. I was in the worst, in my opinion, the worst time in history to be where I was in the wrong time, in the wrong place, and in the wrong era. And some of you guys would agree with the worst time in history to be in Los Angeles, California, was the heart of the crack epidemic in the mid-'80s. Buck wild. And I'm going through high school at the time. The worst conditions there. And my whole motivation was I got to get the hell out of LA. Somehow, some way. And me seeing this, trying to navigate through high school, worrying about not only getting from one neighborhood to the next, because we were so unstable at the time, we were always moving. So you were always the new guy in the neighborhood. And I went to a school called Dorsey High. Dorsey High is in a certain area that they don't want this sign area, you're associated with it. So if you were from this high school, they're associated with a certain gang. And I'm like, So I couldn't even wear the school name. I'm a football player and a basketball player. We lived way on the other side of town in Los Angeles. It took about a 45-minute bus ride. So I literally had to change clothes on the bus. Couldn't wear blue, couldn't wear red, couldn't wear the Dorsey color. I just wore a plaid. I know why you walking around with plaid on all the time. I'm just trying to be safe. Ain't no plaid gangs around here. I'm just doing what I got to do. Talk about survival. So the fear and learning that conditions, also learning the crack and learning there was some strange things going on in that environment, and you got to find ways. So when crack hit, it was phenomenal. And there was always drugs, but then all of a sudden, before crack, you had to have money to get high. Remember that, right? All that stuff was expensive. But here come crack, $5, $10. All of a sudden, everybody was high. Instantly, everybody was high. And I see this, so I lost all respect for adults. $5, $10, you can sell a lamp, a toaster, or shoes. You didn't even have to sell both of your shoes. You can sell one of your shoes and get some crack. And there was people walking around with one shoe on, hopping around. Hey, listen, I saw this dude with my own eyes sell a whole driving car, for some crack. I said, did that just happen? Yes, it did. A whole driving car. It's strange stuff. It blew me away. And I saw a man, you were just sitting there, and you see somebody running down the street with a fully decorated Christmas tree that they stole out of somebody's house. Candy canes falling all over. What the hell are you going to do with that? That was a crackhead, yeah. So seeing this stuff made it absolutely my complete motivation. I got to get the hell out of LA. I got to get out of this environment. Crackheads on one side of the street, winos on the other. And then you had to deal with the gang violence. Remember, there was gangs at one time, but then it became drug wars. And so it was worse. So I had all this to deal with, and they had nerves to tell me, you got to pass the SAT test. You got to study from school. All I want to do was get home without getting shot. Remember, I'm the new guy. So we're on one side of the street. Once I get off the bus, I literally had to sneak through an alley to get home. Because if they saw a new guy walking through the street, they were like, you was in trouble. You know how that is. The wrong neighborhood and the wrong time could cost you your life at that time. So I was just so fearful. I was always on the head on the swivel. I was always paranoid. It was sickening. And one day I went through this new neighborhood, and I get off the bus. It's 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I got my football stuff. I got basketball stuff. I'm just an athlete, but they don't care. If they don't know you, they don't know you. So I'm about to duck through this alley, which is my normal routine, before these group of guys saw me, and they saw me. And the rule on the street is you don't look like a victim, and you don't look scared. So if they saw me run, it was really on. So I'm like, okay, what the hell am I going to do now? They see me. I can't run now. I learned later when I started teaching youth that fear is a protection. And a lot of young men nowadays with their egos, they think fear. Are you afraid of anything? No. Yeah, you should be afraid of anything because it's a protection. I fear for my life. I fear my education. So I'm not going to do anything to lose those things that you value. So you fear them. So we reinstill those things in young people. And I tell this story to young men particularly to do not be afraid to fear because that's a protection. So here I am. Yes, I feared, so I had to think. Do I value my life? Yes, so I'm not going to hop in anybody's car who's been drinking. Right? It's that simple. So when I'm going through this situation, I say the fear was a protection. It also made me a thinker. And one of my favorite quotes I use is this from Proverbs. When wisdom enters the heart, thinking ability will safeguard you. Say that again. When wisdom enters the heart, thinking ability will safeguard you. From Proverbs. Not guns, not knives, not friends, but thinking ability. And I'm attest to that, because if I didn't think before I did some of these things, I wouldn't be sane. I would have been caught up. It wasn't just lucky. I was able to think. So when I'm going through this gauntlet of would-be jackers and gang members, and they see me, now what do I do? I'm like, okay, you can't run. You can't hide. So what do? So I'm walking, they're looking at them, who's this new dude walking through this? So all of a sudden, instinct kicked in, and I became a seeker of drugs. I never had no drugs in my life, but all of a sudden, I put my best crackhead, I start wrinkling up my clothes, and I started, hey man, I need a couple of bags, man, can y'all help me out? And all of a sudden, their eyes turned from, about to pounce on me to, okay, I got a customer now, a regular. So I said, I got my stash, and I'll be back with a couple. Can you give me a couple of bags? I'm ready to go. I didn't even know what the terms was, but they bought it. They said, we gonna be here all night. We're here all night. We'll be here. I'm like, cool. And I went on. I'm just surviving. And I went in my house, and that was it. I'm like, how did I get through that? Just thinking. But I knew that was short-lived, because next time they see me, they was going to be looking for some money. So I'm like, you know what? Once again, Deon, you got to get the hell out of L.A. somehow, some way.